On today's Minute of the Apes, my eyelid will not stop twitching.
They greenlit the sequel without a story in mind. They just wanted to equal an unexpected gold mine. He said, oh no, as Heston said, I got to go. These are just some of the facts you ought to know as we go. Beneath the Minute of the Apes. Beneath the Minute of the Apes. Beneath the Minute of the Apes.
Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, the daily podcast where we break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes movies, 1 minute at a time. I'm Todd. It's Friday.
It's Friday.
I've got Richard and Sean in Zeus Comics.
Yay.
Hi, Richard and Sean.
Hey, everybody. My eyelid won't stop twerking.
I really did try to feature
Try to find
how,
a third one to
I
get
was
in
like,
the...
I don't
My
know.
eyelid won't stop tweaking.
At this point, I'm just going to step away.
Meth-lid.
I pale in comparison to
No,
both of
he
your
won't.
eyelids. So we're...
Bring your eyelid game.
I am in awe of both of you. That's all I'm going to say. The fact that you guys add the humor
He's an eye of
and
both.
add the eyelids. All right, minute 25. We are at minute 25. Sean, tell
All
us
right.
what is going on.
Start minute 25 with the general saying, famine, doctor, and ends with Cornelius saying that they have responsibilities but no power.
Let's roll the clip.
Famine, Doctor. The unknown.
If I had any proper sense of scientific purpose, Cornelius, I shouldn't be cutting up the healthy heads of humans. I should be dissecting the diseased brains of gorillas to find out what went wrong.
And how would you put it right?
I witnessed their babies on the milk of chimpanzees. The milk of kindness. At least our child, when it's born, won't be breastfed on bile.
You know, my dear, the trouble with us intellectuals is that we have responsibilities and no power.
All right, as of minute 25, we've got 3 living humans, 4 dead humans, 1 dead ape, a shrewdness of apes, and a gaggle of humans, and 2 wet apes. Ugh. Ugh.
Yeah.
How about this? They're moist apes. Ugh.
that was like the worst word. Moist wipes.
I actually had the note here that I bet they smell bad when they took the costumes off that you said before. But you look at him, and exactly what you said. His face is glistening, but the hair is just sort of, it's not even matted. It's not anything. I hope desperately when they shot that on a soundstage that was a cold.
Yeah, they kept it cold.
Really cold soundstage.
Well, they definitely, for the general, they definitely slicked up his face. Like he's got some
Is that some
lubricant
oil-based
on his
sweat?
face. Yeah, he's got, hopefully that's water-based.
Little baby,
He had a
little
facial.
baby oil.
Yeah, it's really just kind of greasy. Like it's like the top of a cheese pizza greasy. It's gross.
Hey, what would have been great is if he had actually leapt up on one of those little ledges and done the whole squat, with his legs open like a monkey does and start playing with poo or something like
Or
that.
if he came up and started grooming.
Poo.
Well, that's what he threw out months ago when we started this. He's like, when did the monkeys start flinging poo at each
Yeah,
other?
at some point. Come on. They
These
got to
are
use that.
civilized monkeys.
Yeah.
There's no such thing, sir. I've had a child that I took to the zoo, and they play with their poo.
Oh, well, these are civilized calf evolved monkeys.
Is that what the atomic blast did,
tea
was
and
get the
goes
poo
to
playing
sauna.
other
It
ways?
took the poo side of the brain, it shrunk it down a little bit. So they just take it and just roll it in their hands like a fidget cube every now and then.
So we spend very little time in the bathhouse here. That at least comes to a merciful end, and instead we see the outside of what looks like a Santa Fe cabin with a couple of lawn chairs on the front porch and a couple of little kettles of tea off to the side.
Yeah, so Brent and Nova are trying to escape, and it seemed like they were running away from the city, but now they're running into a specific building.
So if you go back to Nova's motivations that we talked about before, if she had done the whole thing to shut up and he's hurt, if she had done her
that.
and looked at that, what happens now, there would at least be motivation. She would know that she could take him for that injury there,
Yeah.
but they don't play it that way.
So, she led the horse. No, he rode with her on the horse to the city, taking them somewhere, right? We think that she's going to Zira. We get to the city. He then begins to lead her. He leads her when the gorilla's running around in the forest.
Yeah.
But in this particular moment, he's now following her, and he's not holding her hand anymore. She's literally like fleeing through the brush down somewhere, and he's following her. So at this point, does he even realize that she's taking him somewhere into the city itself? Because they keep doing these shots from outside where they just see them running in brush. I mean, we watched them run in brush for like 10 minutes.
And for every which way that he's commented on what he sees.
I've got to get away from the city, and the first thing he does is run into the city.
And when she's running, why isn't he questioning, where are you going?
Where are we going? Where are you taking me?
Well,
but that would be
I've been shot.
That would be the most truthful question he could ask at this point.
All right, so I'll just, because we're getting there, right? They run around the back of this little homestead.
Adobe
hut. Homestead, right?
Right.
And then she comes around the porch, and then they kind of walks into the door. So first they have no locks.
True.
Right.
Or they, she's set up on their Ring doorbell as a trusted source, and she can come in.
And second, how does she know where Zira lives?
She's been over for tea.
Well,
so like,
I literally like how does she know where Zira lives? Does she have like superhuman Zira smelling
or
ability?
So in the previous movie, I don't think we ever really firmly established if Taylor was taken to an office where the maps were and everything, or if that was
he was in Cornelius's office.
Okay, so is this the same? Like, is this attached to this? Is the office in the next room over there?
No, this is their house.
You think?
No.
But I agree with you. It is very odd. Once again, here comes the logic makes no sense for what's happening, why people do things.
If she'd followed Zira and Cornelius to this location, sure.
But you don't do this in a film without somehow previously saying why she would know how to get there.
Yeah. Or somehow giving us some sort of indication of what this place is before they get into it, because it's just some random house that they're running into that conveniently happens to be our hero's house.
And so in that instance, they're so worried about getting us to Cornelius and Zira. Why couldn't we we've had so many stupid shots of them just walking in woods that didn't mean anything. Why couldn't we take 20 seconds to have a sequence of her rushing, pulling him into the shrubs, and she looks and she's looking around and finally she sees them and she follows them there and goes inside. Why can't they have the logic storytelling that goes along with that?
You're asking the wrong people.
I mean, just in this particular moment, there's no reason why we couldn't have had all the dialogue with Zira and Cornelius and then them come in the front door, knock on the door, or be outside or something. There's no reason. There's no reason why Brent and Nova could not have followed them to this location, as opposed to them going inside and hiding.
Is it budget? I mean, you're not asking for that much extra to be shot. That's not a film exposure problem.
Rearranging scenes is not a budget. I mean, rearranging shots is not a budget thing.
And adding in 2 or 3 extra shots here and that, you're not going to pick up that much cost.
We'd have to jump in logic, the fact that Nova's been to Zira's house.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the assumption, is that she's been here at some point. So in all of the science experiments that Zira did on humans, at some point she probably actually brought Nova home, I don't know, to do the dishes or be a pet, right? We've established that the monkeys had pets at some point. Maybe that's what it was.
I can say this as a boy, even a young man watching this numerous times, I never gave a lot of consideration for why she knew where to go.
Yeah.
It's only breaking it down 1 minute at a time, but still, when you look at it that way, it's pretty flimsy.
What I found really interesting is the next moment is they flee into the house, right? And then we're going to catch up to a conversation that Zira and Cornelius are having as they walk down the street. Mm-hmm. What I found fascinating about this moment is, of course, there's no government, there's no orangutans in the city, and there's only one other chimp, but largely it looks like a city under military control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was shocked by it's all guerrilla soldiers on guerrilla horses, police officers up and down the city. There's one chimp that seems to be looking at a marketplace, but otherwise the 2 chimps are walking down. I mean, what kind of oppressive moment has changed in this city where it's just the soldiers?
And I wonder, Kim Hunter made her objections known about the directing of this film. You mentioned that, and I'd never, ever paid attention to that before. And usually to drive home a point like that, you're going to have... In fact, they did this a couple of times in the first film where people would get out of the way of other people. You could have simply the chimps get out of the way. We would have a shot of that. That's a great catch. I never caught that before. I never ever noticed that the guerrillas were being oppressive in that way.
The whole city street is nothing but guerrilla soldiers on horses and horseback. And we actually kind of get a shot of the camera with Zero and Cornelius kind of approaching, but in their way is nothing but the soldiers and the movements. And then we finally catch a shot of them kind of approaching the house, and it's almost like we're catching up to them after having come through that militaristic moment. I mean, we could have totally cut the scene and put it into Rogue One if we wanted to, right?
True. Very true. So we eventually get inside the house with them.
And compared to...
Well, do you want to go with you want to talk about what they're talking about?
Oh, you're fine. If you'd like to do that, please go ahead.
Fine, Richard. Tell us what they're talking about.
I swear to God, do we have to fight every episode?
Are we fighting? Are we fighting? But there's some stuff here. You know, Zira's, the notation to her is fuming undertone. If I had any proper scientific sense, purpose, Cornelius, I shouldn't be cutting up healthy human heads of humans. I should instead be dissecting the deceased brains of gorillas to find out what went wrong.
Did she say deceased or diseased?
Diseased.
Okay.
Diseased brains of gorillas to find out what went wrong. So she's already talking about what's happening culturally. Like
she knows that this is wrong.
And it's just kind of talking about how she's upset with society. And Cornelius kind of laughs to her as a couple would. How'd you put it right? Like it was kind of
What are your changes? Come on, tell me.
But
again.
it's a little nice moment. Like
I thought so too.
The gorillas are crazy. This is what's happening. Well, how would you fix it, honey? Like it's just we're seeing them as a couple.
Once again, I to me they are two of the most well-rounded characters together. They have a relationship that makes sense. They go back and forth, and I found that same exact thing there, Richard. I thought it feels like a couple coming home from work, talking about shit, figuring it out.
And then, is it me, or does it feel like in this movie, despite having really crappy masks and everything, compared to the first movie, they really set-dressed the hell out of this one. Nothing else. Cages don't have anything. You know, in the first movie when they're doing the operating theater, doing blood transfusions, going to the office, there's like no set dress. When they're in Dr. Zaius's office, whenever he's had the trial and everything, there is a statue in there, and that's pretty much
very sparse.
This one, they dressed the hell out of.
I mean, even before we walk into Zira and Cornelius' house, the first thing I noticed was the fact that they have a plant in a pot outside. And I'm like, oh, they have plants.
Well, that's the reason that out front of it, I wasn't kidding. There are literally two chairs on the front.
Two chairs and some water cans and some things like that. Yeah.
There are people live in this place, and I kind of thought the same thing.
But I thought to myself, these are apes that actually take care of plants.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not even talking about moving in. When we move to the house, it gets more pronounced. But this initially, it's just, there's a plant on their porch. Like that's like next level of care.
They want to decorate,
gardening, whatever. It's just kind of that next level of something up. I mean, you can put chairs on your porch, but the minute you got a plant out there, you got to keep it. You got to water it. You got to make sure it's getting sunlight.
That's fun. Oh, wait, that's how you keep them alive? That explains so much.
Damn it.
You don't just put them there and they live?
Yeah. Yeah. So we get inside. Mm-hmm. We hear the conversation between Zira and Cornelius continue.
Right, exactly. Now she's still critiquing the
gorillas.
The gorillas.
And she's talking essentially about she would wet nurse the gorillas.
Yeah, she raised them.
Okay, so at this point, is she now admitting that she's pregnant?
I had the same question. Yes, exactly.
Because to be a wet nurse,
you have to have been pregnant or at some point, yeah.
Right, and then she even then in the conversation refers to their child, and it is not when we have children, but our child, I believe, is almost how she refers to it.
She says at least when our child is born, it won't be breastfed on bile. Notice the script, the hour is underlined. They wanted her to accentuate the fact that she might be with child.
Well,
at this moment.
I don't know.
That I found that one to be a nice little throwaway to
them planning the future?
Yeah. Okay. Charlton's told us this is the last one. He's told us this has to be it. We're not going to be stupid this time. We're at least going to put in the idea of something. To which point, the conversation continues on, and Cornelius eventually gets to the one line that just irritates the crap out of me, because if there's one thing I hate in the world is someone like, and I'm going to be quite frank, like Trump, who has to tell you how smart he is. I know often when people tell me how smart they are, they aren't that smart. So Cornelius